began to doubt each other, and communities were divided not just by loyalty, but by fear. Women played a surprisingly powerful role in this secret war. Often underestimated, they were able to move more freely and gather information without raising suspicion. Some became highly skilled operatives, using charm, intelligence, and courage to influence outcomes in ways few could imagine. The impact of espionage during the Civil War cannot be overstated. Victories were not always won by strength, but by knowledge. And yet, most of these stories remained hidden, overshadowed by the dramatic images of battlefield combat. The true war was not just fought with weapons, it was fought with secrets, and those secrets changed everything. Behind the heroic stories and famous battles lies a much darker reality, one of suffering, cruelty, and human endurance pushed to its limits. The Civil War was not just deadly on the battlefield, it was devastating far beyond it. One of the most horrifying aspects of the war was the treatment of prisoners. Captured soldiers were sent to overcrowded camps where conditions were almost unimaginable. Food was scarce, clean water was limited, and disease spread rapidly through cramped spaces. Thousands died not from wounds, but from starvation, infection, and neglect. These camps became places of slow, painful death, where survival depended more on luck than strength. Civilians also paid a heavy price. Entire towns were destroyed as armies moved through, leaving behind burned homes, empty fields, and broken families. For many, the war meant losing everything: property, security, and loved ones. In some areas, law and order completely collapsed, and people lived in constant fear of violence. The line between soldier and civilian often disappeared, as both became victims of the conflict. Enslaved individuals faced an even more uncertain reality. While the war eventually led to freedom for many, the journey was filled with danger and confusion. Some escaped to Union lines, risking their lives for a chance at freedom. Others were caught in the middle of battles, unsure of who to trust. Acts of resistance were often met with brutal punishment, and the promise of freedom came with immense sacrifice. Even within the armies, discipline sometimes broke down. Soldiers, exhausted and traumatized, committed acts that were rarely reported or acknowledged. Commanders often ignored these incidents, focusing instead on maintaining control and achieving victory. The psychological impact of the war was profound. Soldiers witnessed death on a scale they had never imagined, leaving lasting scars on their minds. At the time, there was little understanding of mental trauma, and many suffered in silence long after the war ended. The true cost of the Civil War was not just measured in battles won or lost, but in the countless lives forever changed by its brutality. These are the stories that history often overlooks, the hidden suffering that reveals the war's darkest side. When the war finally ended in 1865, many believed that the nation could begin to heal. But the truth was far more complicated. The end of the fighting did not mean the end of the conflict's impact. In many ways, the Civil War's darkest secrets continued to shape the future long after the last shots were fired. The Reconstruction era was meant to rebuild the country and create a more equal society, but it faced enormous challenges. Deep divisions remained, and many of the issues that caused the war were not fully resolved. Political leaders once again played a crucial role, making decisions that would affect millions of lives. Some of these decisions were driven by a genuine desire for progress, while others were influenced by the same ambition and hidden agendas that had shaped the war itself. Efforts to create equality were often met with resistance, and progress was slow and uneven. Many promises made during the war were never fully realized, leaving a legacy of frustration and inequality. Over time, the narrative of the Civil War was simplified. Complex truths were replaced with easier stories of heroism and unity. Monuments were built and certain figures were celebrated, while other stories were forgotten or ignored. The suffering, the secrets, and the difficult realities were often left out of the official narrative. But history has a way of revealing itself. As new documents are discovered and old ones are re-examined, a clearer picture begins to emerge, one that challenges long-held beliefs and forces us to confront uncomfortable truths. The Civil War was not just a fight between two sides, it was a deeply complex conflict shaped by human ambition, fear, and secrecy. Its legacy is still felt today, in ongoing debates and divisions that trace their roots back to that time. Understanding these hidden aspects does not change the past, but it does change how we see it. And perhaps, by uncovering these secrets, we can better understand not just the Civil War, but the forces that continue to shape our world today.